what to say. If I told you you could win this BMW M140i for 99p, you'd think I'm absolutely balmy. But then if I told you could win it for 90p, you'd probably think I've lost the plot. Well, you absolutely can. If you head over to titanprizes.com and use the code TOM10, you can win this car for 90p. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what this car is about. It is a BMW M140i, and it is far from standard, as you can tell just by looking at it. The pops, the crackles, the bangs are absolutely insane, and we'll get into that when we get into the road test, because these cars are a subtle petrolhead's dream. Now, if you're familiar with my reviews, you'll know we like to talk a lot about boot space, but in this video, I'm going to give it a bit of a brush over. We're going to talk about the booty because evidently there is some modifications going on here at the back, one of them being this real carbon fibre spoiler. Then if we just crouch down without splitting my ever so tight jeans, you'll notice these cannons at the bottom of the rear bumper. This is a Remus exhaust and it sounds absolutely amazing. And if we get even lower down, you'll notice there is another modification down here. It is in fact a rear side skirt splitter diffuser sort of trickery, which gives this car a real aggressive back end. I'm not going to lie, these jeans are about to split. Now, BMW have never really classed this as a true M car, and what I mean by that is you have the M2, the M3, the M4, the M5, the M6, and the M8, of course. Not really got an M7 yet, that's classed as an M760i. Well, this is the M140i, obviously, and you'll notice, rather than just having the M1, which was a complete utter legend, they've kind of stuck with the M140i. Now, where this car differs is obviously BMW first released the M135i, and the major difference between the 140 and the 135i is slightly more horsepower, but ultimately more torque, and this car is a tuner's dream. And speaking of tuning, let's move on to the engine bay where I can tell you what's been going on with this beast. Now, if we talk about the engine in this car, this is where it really comes to life, and I do genuinely think this era of car, especially being around 2015, 2016, was the best we're ever going to see from car manufacturers, because they still had those big ferocious engines. Now, speaking of the engine, this is a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged engine, and from factory it would produce 335 horsepower. This one, however, has been tuned and had a few little things tweaked on it, and it produces 480 brake horsepower, and the torque figures are a little bit more insane. This current car is producing 640 Newton meters of torque, and this is why these cars are an absolute tuner's dream, because they have such a large lump at the front, albeit the horsepower numbers from standard are a little bit lower, but you can really squeeze that extra push out of it, and the way it delivers torque and pushes you around the bends without losing the back end is quite literally insane. Now, for most BMW fanatics, the choice of gearbox in a car like this would of course be a manual, and this is actually the last generation of the M140i where you could choose a manual. The newer generations don't offer that. They are automatic and they run the X-Drive system where it's predominantly front wheel drive. This one, however, is the ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's a single clutch system, which a lot of you will be thinking, well, does it change gear quick? Yes, it absolutely does, and it still maintains that harshness when you drop it into Sport Plus mode. If I just move down here, you'll notice you get something else for your 90p. You get a massive front splitter that's gloss black, very sharp edges, and it sticks out the front, and it just gives this car that extra aggressive appearance. You get LED daytime running lights, and if we move around to the wheels, they are standard, but they run some awesome tyres, as I shall now show you. Wheels are 18-inch and they are the twin spoke M Sport alloys, but they have of course been powder coated in this lovely gloss black finish. And just to give it that little bit of an extra touch, they've also introduced some yellow calipers into the mix. Now, tyres are the ever so famous brand of Michelin, and these tyres are Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, and you need these to keep this car glued to the road, because the power that comes from the back, especially with no engine engine being above that differential, this car struggles to keep stuck to the road, especially when it's wet, and that is where Michelin comes in to help keep this car in a straight line. You also notice this car lacks a lot of chrome, and that is because anything that was chrome has been de-chromed and finished in this lovely gloss black, especially the wing mirrors all down the side, the grills at the front, the lovely side skirt splitters and diffuser looks the best, and it is finished in the traditional BMW Estoril blue, which in my opinion is the best colour for these cars. So now we've looked at the exterior and what's underneath the bonnet, it's about time we took a look at the inside of the car, and it comes with my favourite colour interior. It's not black, it's not beige, it's just wow. It is in fact red. It's my absolute favourite colour interior in these BMW M140i's and pretty much in any BMW car. You get it on the door cards, centre console, on the passenger and driver seats, and it also transfers all the way into the back of the car. Now, BMW are absolute kings of steering wheels. This is one hell of a chunky wheel, and in my opinion, I think this is the best looking BMW steering wheel they've ever released, apart from obviously the newer Beamer cars. For this sort of era, I think this one is lovely. When they went to the newer generation, I think it started to look a bit naff, but lovely chunky. You get these flappy paddle gear shifters here. You can also change gear down here. Lovely spinny wheel, no rubbishy haptic feedback buttons. You've got proper physical buttons in this car. Massive LED screen up front, heated passenger and driver seats, dual climate control, a proper handbrake for skids, and you get a Harman Kardon surround sound system. So if we just start this car, that is where it comes to life. It is absolutely amazing. That rev. This is where things start to get a bit fun in these reviews. What I will say is though, this car does have a full service history and it's only done 53,000 miles from new. What Titan have said they will do is before the winner receives this car, they'll put a fresh MOT on it and they'll also give it another service. So you are literally good to go. And if you are interested in winning this for 90p, the link will be in the description and pinned as the top comment. Before we take this out on the road, I want to just show you something. Inside the car, if you go into technology in action and you go on short displays, it brings up the horsepower and torque numbers. And as you can clearly see there in front of you, it is 480 bhp and it is 640 newton meters of torque. And the beautiful thing about this is when you do put your foot down, those dials go up and down and you can see how much torque you're sending to the back wheels as you accelerate. The exhaust that is on this car is valved. Now, it is a lot quieter in comfort and eco mode, but when you put it into sport mode, it is an absolute asbo of a thing. It sounds amazing. It's so addictive. When the engine's nice and warm, you do get some lovely pops and crackles. It's absolutely brilliant, to say the least. With all that said, this is just typical BMW M140i interior. It's not got electric memory seats because that was quite a rare option on these, and also the panoramic roof was a rare option. I mean, it is quite hard to find that on these cars. But you don't really care about the technology on this car, and I've also found I don't listen to the radio much because I'm always listening to that exhaust note. So with that said, let's get out on the road and give this a bit of a scream. Now, the first thing you notice when getting into this car is how tolerable it is to drive. It's actually very smooth and very quiet when it's in comfort mode, and especially in eco mode, the exhaust isn't that noticeable unless you squeeze the pedal a little bit too much. But like all BMWs, they were built for that smooth sort of feel, that lovely businessman-like seating position, and the cabin does feel very nice and cozy. So if I just put this into sport mode, you hear the crackles pick up, and I'm hoping that's coming across well on camera because this thing sounds ludicrous. And I'm just going to pop it over to manual. You can hear it picking up. I'm going to change down, and I'm just going to dip the window a bit so you can hear. And in 3, 2, 1. Jesus Christ! Listen to that! my God! I tell you what, 117 speed, I've seriously tuned this car so well. It's just, I'm just getting some really dirty looks now as we come through this village. This thing is an absolute asbo. Everybody is looking at me as if to say, what on earth is in that engine? So, the snappiness is just ridiculous. Now, this is the thing that frustrates me when you get a car like this, because there is so much potential under that bonnet, but I can't legally use it because we are, of course, on British roads. Now, a car like this would be an absolute animal in a straight line and possibly on a track. To put an engine that is a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged engine in a car that is the size of a Ford Focus is absolute madness. Like when I said earlier, this era of car is the best era we've ever seen. 2014 to sort of late 2016, just slightly cutting off to 2017, cars like this became no more. Manufacturers were putting big lumps in cars and calling them hot hatches. Now, a 3-litre in a car the size of a Ford Focus and you stick a turbo on it, yes, it only produced 335 horsepower from factory, but as you can see, with a remap on this, which is stage 2 from 117, you're easily pushing near 500 horsepower and you have that ridiculous amount of torque of 640 Newton meters. The problem we have now is manufacturers have to adhere to all this new legislation where engines have to be economical, and they just simply get fined and taxed to the high heavens if they put ridiculously sized engines in cars. But going back to the era of when the F20 M140 was made, we had the C63, which was a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, and what manufacturers struggled with, certainly in this time frame, especially the Germans, was keeping these engines quiet and road legal. And that is where, when you buy these cars, they are a tuner's dream, because everything is there for expansion, especially the engine note. Now, with that Remus exhaust on the back, this car just sounds like no other. It sounds completely different, to the point where driving M140i's, you know, after a couple of days, you become quite bored of them because it is just a businessman's hot hatch. But what I can tell you is, in the time that I have had this car, I am not bored of it. It's just an absolute weapon, to say the least. It is so quick, so fast, very smooth, very precise, and when you get it on the B roads and that back end just slightly tries to let go around the corner, it kind of reminds you of who's in charge. And to drive a car like this, and to drive it quick, you need skill. And that is something that I am probably lacking. So with the conditions being rather greasy, I'm not going to go too berserk driving this car, because I want to make sure that we take it back to Titan in one piece and the lucky winner still gets it. There'd be nothing worse than me ruining it and just pushing it too far. If it was my own car, I'd probably push it a bit harder, but like I say, I can't. It's greasy outside, it's not my car, and I'm going to respect it where I can. But we're just coming up to some B roads now, and you'll just love it. Honestly, the noise, everything is just amazing. I'm just going to put the short display on of the horsepower and the torque. We're currently, just even now, idling at 30 miles an hour, it's pushing 180 Newton meters of torque. You will notice, well, I can certainly notice, but this car has a turbo whistle. And it's not like the when it changes gear that you would hear. The turbo whistle that you get is quite frankly like a diesel engine. It's a weird noise, but it does sound amazing. And when you let off on the exhaust behind, you can kind of hear the turbo resonating through the pipes all the way to the back. We're going to go into Sport. I'm not going into Sport Plus because it does turn traction control off, and that would be very, very risky with the roads being greasy. But Honestly, what a machine. It does have launch control. Now we will try it. Let's try the launch. Sport Plus. It struggled to put the power down then. Oh my God! The smoke that has left. What is this car about? Let me put the window up so you can actually hear what's going on. The crackles are just... Honestly, this is ridiculously fast. I get to drive a lot of fast cars, and this is just another level. The noise it produces and the way it crackles and runs down, and the steering being so precise. There, the back end just went. I don't know what to say. I'm just absolutely speechless. I've just got to concentrate. Oh my God, honestly. Just the way this pulls, you can hear the engine whining as if it's supercharged. One thing I found with this remap is, and it does, excuse my language, it shits me up like you wouldn't believe. When you change between second and third, the boost off the turbo carries through to third gear. So when you do actually let off the accelerator, even though you've let off for a second or so, the car continues to accelerate, and that's where you get that snappy feel. It's scary. M140i's are rather boring, but when you've got this, there you go. When you've got this amount of power, it is just another level. You can feel just the torque just punching all the way through the gears. I love modified cars. I love being a petrol head, and I urge you, if 90p to win this car isn't a bargain, what on earth are you playing at? Because this, oh, it's just so fun to drive. The crackle. Oh, there we go. That was the boost pushing through. Honestly, it is savage. Having lived with the M140i for a couple of days, there was a harsh, sad reality that had set in. Hot hatches like this will never be made again. With the world so obsessed with electric cars and the zero-emission fairy tale, I really do believe cars like this will become a modern classic, and it's one you should buy now, enjoy, and drive until you can no longer afford it. So we've just hit there 500 Newton meters of torque, obviously staying within the speed limit. But the way it accelerates uphill is ridiculous. I'm led to believe the 0 to 60 of this car is around 4.2 seconds. But the main thing that stops it being quicker is the fact that it's rear wheel drive. Now, cars like this, you can see why manufacturers start to make them four-wheel drive, because the sheer power they can put through those back wheels. And it's not like a Porsche, it's not like the engine is on the back with all the weight on the wheels. The engine's in the front and you've got hardly any weight on the back. Partly, this is what makes BMWs so fun to drive, is the fact that there's no weight on the back, and if you have got the confidence and skill set, you can get that back end almost sideways going around corners. Now, I would love to show you that it is possible to do that in this car, but I have to remember, everything I'm doing needs to remain legal. I can't be doing things like that on public roads. If, however, you want to see the next competition car being drifted around, then drop a comment below and put Rick, send Tom to the track. Rick is the guy that owns Titan Prizes, who's lent me this car, and I'm going to be working with him closely over the next few months. So if you want to see more, get involved, drop a comment, and just put Rick, send him to the track. I just need to try and get past this car in front of me and we can really open the throttle up. Don't want to go too fast. It's that overboost. That overboost is actually so scary, to the point where you have to give yourself enough time to brake, because it overboosts and accelerates into the next gear. The crackles. Slow down for a downshift. Honestly, I would absolutely love to bash this round a track. It is just an absolute machine. In fact, I think I want one. One of you lucky people is going to win this, and that's the amazing thing. It's just, when you're on roads like this, and there's not much traffic in front, there is now obviously, you can just really put your foot down to the floor, and it's just brilliant. The only thing you do have to watch, obviously, is the terrain on the road, because it is quite... There we go, the back's lifting off. I can't go any quicker than that. That was 62 or 63-ish, and as I was accelerating, because of the pitch of the road, the back wheels were just fighting and trying to get the grip. Oh yeah, it's just too dangerous. This car is an absolute adrenaline rush. I've never really been a believer in modifying cars to this extent. I've always thought you're going to end up ruining them, you're going to put too much speed out the back wheels, and they're just going to be undrivable. Now, with the roads being greasy, that is correct. It does feel like very risky, and it is very frightening when you put your foot down. But isn't that what hot hatches should all be about, is giving you that push to make you feel like you're absolutely within an inch of your life keeping this car in a straight line.
So what is the M140i? Well, it's a fast, affordable hot hatch that quite simply shouldn't be ignored. And I know it's been around for a long time now, but this car is like a gateway drug to modification. Standard ones are a bargain, and if you want to make it an animal like this one, chuck it an exhaust and a remap, and you'll be left shaking with adrenaline. It's a car that scares you, a car that will make you laugh and smile, but more importantly, it's a car that makes you feel alive.
Left foot brake, right foot down. Jesus Christ! The way that car accelerates, it loses so much acceleration because of the rear wheel drive, but with the traction control off, you can feel everything through the steering wheel as it's trying to rip itself forward in a straight line. The launches are amazing. I just wish I was on a track where I could really truly leather this car. Oh, the crackles. This car is what I like to call the ultimate B-road basher. It is just a savage, savage machine. I don't think I've ever drove anything as scary as this. I know when Rick took this to 117 speed to have it tuned, the guy that runs the place, Sam, he said, would you like it to spit flames? And Rick obviously said no, but how cool would it be to know that if you won this car, you could have it tuned so it spits flames out the back of it. I'm not sure how that would go getting you through an MOT as such, but it just sounds unreal. Honestly, everybody you drive past just looks at it. It's just ridiculous. It's an absolute head turner, and you could probably say it's a head turner for the wrong reasons and the noise because of the noise it puts off, but those that is just, I've never heard an exhaust like that. People say to me all the time, Tom, why are you obsessed with cars? It's such a childish thing to be interested in. Well, I beg to differ. It really isn't a childish thing to be interested in. The people that often don't understand cars are people that have never experienced something like this. Oh my Jesus Christ! The torque this engine puts out. Cars are not boring when they are as loud and as fast as this. The crackles and the burbles are just ridiculous. One thing I will say is though, it is quite thirsty, this car. I've done nearly a full tank of fuel today. honestly, the adrenaline, I feel like I'm having heart palpitations. It is that quick. It is just, why would anybody not be interested in something that just sounds so good? Oh, honestly, it's an absolute eargasm listening to that exhaust and the scream of that engine. Just the induction, it sounds like it's supercharged. The whine the engine has is ridiculous. And the way it pulls itself out of bends, don't get me wrong, you can't accelerate just as you're leaving the bend. You have to wait until you're round and now put the throttle in, and you really have to feather that in. If you don't feather that in, the back end slips, and without the traction control on, if you haven't got the skill, you could be into a mess. But talk about fun. Oh, I want one. I really, really would like an M140i. I never thought I would say it. From the outside, they look boring. When you kit them up, they do start to look quite nice, but from the outside, they're just a bit nothingy. But then when you actually start to get in it and accelerate and pick away at it and knock it into manual mode, Sports Plus, trickle through the gears and feather the throttle in, that is just where this car comes to life. I've never ever experienced such fright and enjoyment at the same time. There's just a kind reminder of when driving this car, if something goes, just the noise. Just, there you go, that overboost. That is the most worrying thing with this car. But there's that polite reminder of BMW is in charge in this situation, and it's down to you to listen to the feedback and everything it is telling you through the steering wheel, the pedals, the gear changes, and the notes and decibels and noise. If you don't listen to that and you don't get in tone with that, that's when it can quickly go wrong. Just the way... To think manufacturers spent fortunes keeping these cars quiet and allowing them to go into production and on the road is absolute madness. And now we're in a place where we can tune these things up and just keep battering them and just enjoying that crackle. I'm just going to put the window down again because we are coming over a bridge. The thing is with this car, everybody thinks you're driving it like an Asbo even though you're in with the speed limit, but we'll just come in round here. It's just so loud and ferocious. There is no need to go stupidly fast in this car. It is nice, it's nice to accelerate harsh and quick, but it's just enough to listen to all that noise that the engine produces. And I've never heard anything from a 3-litre straight 6. You would never have thought those notes, those decibels, that ostinato of the pistons going together, you wouldn't think it could produce such music. It has a Harman Kardon surround sound system in it, and I've just not used it. You don't need anything else other than that exhaust note. It is just a savage machine, this. It is the best sounding engine I've had in a while. Honestly, I could never ever get bored of that noise. And if this video has not sold you the dream of buying this car for 90p, or the chance to win it, I should say, for 90 pence, I don't know what will. Oh, it doesn't get boring. I'm sorry, crackle maps are just the best things ever. So to summarise, what do I think of the M140i? Well, personally, I have always loved the M140i's. In fact, I've loved the M135i's. They've always been a tuner's dream. And 117 speed have certainly treated this car well. But to put it into perspective, what do I think of this M140i? Well, it's an absolute adrenaline rush, it's a weapon, and it is a car that certainly turns heads, and the shots that fire out the back of those cannons is absolutely berserk. It's so addictive, so fun, and I'm gutted that this car is being given away as a prize because I quite frankly want to keep it. So if you do want to win this car for an absolute bargain of 90p, head over to titanprizes.com, use the code TOM10 for 10% off, and this absolute beast could be yours on October the 1st. In the meantime, guys, make sure you do everything in style, and I will see you all very soon. One last thing, click that subscribe button because more cars like this are coming, and I'll be working very closely with Titan Prizes in the future. Goodbye.